Hello and welcome to the episode 3 of Al Answers. I've been getting a lot of questions regarding what's next for Indian T20 team, and I see that's what I'm going to get for the next week or two. So it's not strictly hashtagged under Al Answers, but I'll put it out and I'll just clarify it once and for all, and what I think, what I would do if I were in charge, so that this is something that I can always go back to if someone asks what will you do with the Indian T20 team. I mean, with the World Cup, there's an IPL release coming up, there is an IPL auction coming up, there's an IPL coming up, and at least till teams start preparing for the ODI World Cup, I expect this to be the case for us. So let's delve into it right away. So the first question that will arise is what to do with the current setup. I mean, there have been a lot of theories regarding how India have not learnt anything from the last last World Cup, which was held in UAE, and they've just repeated the same batting order and they've been eliminated. I think it's a stupid thing to say, because whatever you learn from UAE World Cup, you cannot apply it in an Australian World Cup. You see the difference in conditions. You see the number of fast bowlers that are dominating the list. I mean, look at the names: Paul Van Meekeren, Taskin Ahmed, and Blessing Muzarabani, Richard Ngarava. You put all of these names in the UAE World Cup, you'd be surprised to see where they stand. I mean, it's a completely different thing. So you cannot learn, you cannot apply what you have learned from a UAE World Cup and an Australian World Cup. I think India were right. India backed their best players of pace bowling. For example, look at Kohli. I mean, most of them want Kohli dropped based on IPL strike rates and IPL face strike rates and everything. But spin average of where does he has been India's at least second best batter in this World Cup. I mean, you could also argue him as to be the best batter, but I think it's basically between Sky and him. We do not want to waste time on it, but they were basically the two best batters for India in this World Cup. So that was the calculation India took with Rohit and KL Rahul. I mean, if you have seen KL Rahul play, if you have seen Rohit play, you know how good these players are against pace bowling. I mean, look at KL Rahul's record against Bumrah in the IPL. How many players can do that to Bumrah? So that's what India backed, but India failed in a couple of things. The players failed. India, it looks like India have failed to in the case of KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma. I know KL Rahul got a couple of 50s, but those aren't excuses, man. You cannot give a couple of 50s against what is that, Bangladesh and Zimbabwe as an answer to such a big trust that's placed in you. So I think the players failed. India failed as a result, and I think Virat Kohli has done whatever he wanted. We could have expected of him. I mean, you could have said his strike rate was slow. He didn't accelerate at the rate that he should have. But you have a non-functional opening door, and what will you do? And you have your limitations. You are in the team to target pace. And I mean, it's over to Sky. The Sky is the only one who could accelerate against leg spin, and then there is Hardik Pandya who has his own limitations as well. But they were all in the team for a reason, and I think from team management, the first five players, I wouldn't have done anything different probably, but after the knock that Sky played against England, I don't see how anyone could have done anything different either. So yeah, that's that. So let's look at player by player and see what I do with those players. I think Rohit Sharma, but thank you for your services, and please concentrate on ODIs, on winning the World Cup, and maybe if you want to play Test cricket, please play Test cricket as well. But T20, that's it. I mean, he's been one of the worst batters in IPL since 2017, and that is connected. I mean, there is no excuse for the next World Cup going to be held in West Indies and UAE. Conditions are going to be spin friendly. I mean, there are going to be a lot of quick wrist spinners. The conditions, there is not going to be a lot of bounce on decks, and these are situations Rohit doesn't normally excel in. When it comes to T20, that's a single. That's one of the reasons why Rohit has such a poor record in IPL. So let's we'll have to. Force like Rohit Sharma out of the team. It's a complicated decision. He has just been appointed captain. I'm not sure how mainstream teams can do that, but that's the right thing to do. KL Rahul, I think KL Rahul cannot be forced out of the team. He's only 30, but he'll be dropped. I think that's it. The reason for him being in the team, the reason for him being backed, is to deliver in conditions like this. Is to deliver in conditions where Indian young players. I mean, there is a lot of talk about Prithvi Shaw, Rahul Tripathi. I mean, Rahul Tripathi. I do not even know whether he has played in Australia before. How would you bring him to this World Cup? You could point a couple of players who have succeeded, but I'll point 10 more players who have failed. This is an argument that you can keep going on and on. But the basic thing is it's backing a player who has not played in conditions. Backing a player in conditions where he has not played is not a wise move. It's not what a sane person would do. So yeah, what would we are discussing? I think yeah, KL Rahul was back to deliver in this World Cup because of his experience and because of his range and because of his ability against pace. He failed. Now he has to go out. He has to go. But do not drop him completely from the setup. Keep him out. Tell him this is what he has to do. If he has to come back into the Indian team, and doors will always be open for him because we all know how good he is. Tell him that he should have to like return 35 160, which is like average 35 runs per wicket and strike at 160, or average 40 and strike at 145 140. This is the kind of seasons that he should have, opening the innings. And given the stage he is in his career, have a couple of IPLs like that. And if you can show that you could do what we're expecting you to, then you can come in. That's it. Do not shut the door permanently on anyone who is like aged only 30. There's a different case from Rohit Sharma. And I think Virat Kohli, it's very similar to Rohit. Kohli is not someone you would expect to shine in a World Cup in WI, the West Indies and UAE. And we all know how his strike rate is against spin, how his acceleration is limited against spin. Guaranteed, he has had a great World Cup. Um, he has had a great last 6 months too, but I think the time is it. I think he's aging. The next World Cup is like 2 years after, 2 years later, and there is ODI World Cup to concentrate on, and then his love has always been with Test cricket. I think it's. I was one of those who always wanted Virat Kohli in an Australian WC, even despite all his poor performances in IPL, despite what his limitations against spin, and because I knew what you're going to get at MCG, I knew what you're going to get at Optus. So similarly, WI and USA sluggish conditions, slow ball variations and stuff, finger spin, left arm spin, wrist spin, classical, quick wrist spin. Now, I think Kohli has had a good T20I career. I think he's shown he's shown at this age. I think even including Rohit, including KL and top three has to be commended for trying to change. They all tried to change, but some succeeded some succeeded more than some. It's okay. So I think Kohli also has to be let go. I think it's something that it's not dropped. Like it's like you're going to say something that's going to be sound like a lot more soft. Like we're looking at a different direction. Like we're looking at giving it youngsters a chance. We are focusing on, we want our biggest players to focus on ODI. But this is the thing. Uh, Let go of that. Rohit and Kohli should have ideally played their last T20 matches. It did not happen in the first series. I mean, they could be picked for one more series given a farewell or something. But if it doesn't happen in the next three series, in the next three selection, I think Indian team would be making a big error in their thinking, in their strategy. That's something the think tank should be held responsible for. So yeah, that's the third thing. And Surya Kumar Yadav, I think Surya Kumar Yadav stays where he is. I had doubts over his ability to perform in the middle order because for a period of time his numbers in the middle order were poor, especially against pace. I think he has improved. I think he has shown enough for me to think like this is a point where this is a point where things have changed. So he could stay at the number four spot for now. I mean, when we look at the new batting order, he might move to number three. But yeah, he's fine. He doesn't need to go back to opening anymore. There is a middle order. It's a difficult spot to fix. Let him play in the middle order. I think Hardik Pandya at five. Hardik Pandya stays. Hardik Pandya becomes my captain for the next World Cup. What I saw in this World Cup and even in the IPL and even in the build up to the IPL, I was always interested to see how good a captain Hardik will be, because the way he talked about cricket and how as a player growth, his personal growth in one of those interviews with Harsha Bogle in Cricket, it's outstanding. I love. I have always grown to like him. But after that, I love him to bits. He's just exceptional thinking. Just shows how perceptions, are really, like, you look at a player and you think he's a power hitter. He's someone who was, but he's a thinking cricketer. He's an exceptionally good thinker of the game. That's why I want Hardik as the captain of my T20 I team in 2024 World Cup. This is where I think this is where the top five is done. No, I think the top five of the past team selection is done. Six, I think this is an important question. I connect it with my future as well. If you look at it, who is going to be a number six? I mean, Dinesh Karthik was roped in for a reason because of his specialization in the role. And again, like with the Indian top three Indian team, the Indian think tank was right in believing Dinesh Karthik could crack the role. But over the first three matches, he struggled, and even in this whole year, he struggled. I mean, you could say that he's a lower order player. He's not expected to have his average high up. But when a player is informed, look at Dinesh Karthik's performances in the lower middle order for KKR or for Gujarat Lions. Those numbers, like, you do not have an average of 20 in a successful year as a lower middle order player. You will have an average of 30. It could be due to not outs, it could be due to a couple of three freak performances. But when you do well, you'll really have an average of 30 or 28 or 29. But you won't have an average of 20 or 25 or below 25. I mean, that's bad. You would have an average of 30 and a strike rate of the proportional strike rate of 150 or 155. In a good year, you will also average well. That's a simple thing. People say do not look into averages too much, and no, average shows. If you're a good player, the average column will tell you. There is no, you could, if a player averages under 25, irrespective of whatever strike rate he has, I mean, it shows that there is significant weaknesses that, and as an opposition captain, I would be able to exploit. Nesh Karthik was struggling this year. Rishabh Pant was struggling this year. I think that showed in the what teams did with those two too. They weren't sure on who to pick. They picked one at a time. They pick another at a time. But none of them really did enough to seal the spot. And yeah, by your DK is done. Obviously, DK is done. He cannot be in the scheme of things for 2024 World Cup with his age and everything. And Rishabh Pant is not a player who could fill at least at the moment he hasn't shown enough to fill the spot. So what can we do? Fixing this question is going to be an important thing, and I think that's where I look at the names, and I think there is only one name that comes to my mind who can fix this requirement. I think it's either Hardik Pandya at number six with Samson at number five, or Hardik Pandya at five and Samson at number six. Hardik Pandya is a player who wants to bat higher up the order. He has expressed this a number of times, and he has also found that when he plays down the order, his chance of success is limiting his chances of success, because he is not just a pace hitter. When he works towards it, he could become a wholesome hitter against spin as well. So this is also one of the reasons people ask. There is a lot of comments about why was Pant in, and why, if he's in, why isn't he coming after Surya Kumar? That's because of Hardik Pandya. You, you have your best players and you want to do what's best for them. So when Hardik Pandya and Surya Kumar do not want to be disturbed at their usual roles, you do not go and tell them, hey, this is the matchup that we are planning and we want you to come down the order because we have this silly thing called matchup that could and we want to promote Pant up the order. You don't do that to champion players. You let them do what they're good at. Because if you mess with them, if you mess with their roles, then it becomes a mental thing. If you want Hardik Pandya to deliver you a World Cup, you'll have to make him do what you want, what they want to do. I mean, this is a mistake that Dravid did with Sachin Tendulkar. He went to a champion player and he told him he wants to move him down the order to make the team stronger. And look what happened. because Sachin is a star player. Hardik Pandya is a star player and is an informed player. I'm not comparing Sachin and Hardik. Do not make this ridiculous assumption and come back to me saying that how could you compare Hardik and Surya Kumar, yeah, Hardik and Sachin Tendulkar. Hardik's stature in the team is that of a star player. You want him to be in the best mental space. And if he wants to bat higher up the order, he will bat higher up the order, irrespective of who is bowling, what is happening, etc. You do your matchups, you do your little tactics and strategies around your star players. You do not mess with your star players. And I think that is why we all know Rishabh Pant is better suited to take on leg spinners. Then there is a reason why it didn't happen, because it affects cricket. Is you are ultimately dealing with people, so it also becomes a mental game. This whole conversation of how cricket is just tactical and everything. You have to keep your people in the best space of mind for them to deliver. So that's one of the reasons I think why Rishabh Pant didn't come out earlier, because that would push Hardik Pandya down the order. And we all saw the UAE episode where the shift between the order happened and the reactions and everything. So yeah. This is this. So if you have to crack this role, I think it has to be a combination of Samson and Hardik Pandya. That's what I see as India's best shot at the moment. I think they are doing this thing with Deepak Huda. They are trying to make use of this height and convert him into a lower middle order player. But I don't think that's going to happen, because yeah, I'm not sure if there is an effort going on behind the scenes, for which I'll not be able to comment. If someone could detail in on it, if someone could conduct an interview with him, we'll maybe able to talk. But based on his height, there is value in looking at him as a lower middle order player. But all of his success all over the years have come with him at the top of the order. I mean, this is why his career didn't progress after his initial burst. I mean, that's one of the glorious years a young batter has ever had. Go back and look at Deepak Huda's first year with Rajasthan Royals. Wow, I really thought I that was the making of a superstar, but it didn't come up because of a variety of reasons. But one of those is that he was also, like, his position was we demoted down the order. And even in that season, Rajasthan Royals suddenly started losing. Then they demoted him down the order, and there is in the coming seasons as well, he was played down the order, which didn't work. So I'm not sure if there is an effort that's going on behind the scenes to convert Huda into a lower middle order player. If it is, fine, have your try. But if there is no effort going on, if the player isn't trying to become a lower middle order power hitter, then there is no value in it. Yeah, so we have done the past. We have dissected the past team. I will go to the future. I'll not take bowling for this episode. I'll maybe convert it into a part two and discuss it in the next one, because it has already been 18 minutes and I do not want to like keep going on and on. Yeah. So what will be my future? I think the first step I'll do is figure what works for Pant and what doesn't. I mean, he is not delivering as a middle order player. It has been a while. So what do you do to make Pant work? Pant is a big enough player. You have seen it in Test cricket. You're seeing it in ODI cricket. I think some people some do not know what's happening with him in ODI cricket. They just go and look back at his last 10 innings. Last 10 or 15 innings and how he has performed. So the Pant is a match winner and you love to make him work. It's do everything you can, and if it doesn't work, then that's not your fault. But if you're not doing everything that you can, then that becomes your fault. So push Pant up, open with him. That limits his outside of stump weaknesses, because all then what we'll have to do is just clear the infield, not the outfield as well. It also gives him a start. It gives him a better choice. I mean, when he goes out of power play, he doesn't have to hit everything. He's already at what, 35 of 25 or 40 of 25, or even sometimes he could be crazy 45 of 20 or something. So he could choose what to attack and what he doesn't have to attack against spin or full length pace variation specialist. And that makes him a David Warner, that makes him a David Warner Jr. So that's what I'll do. I'll first, what I'll do is put Pant up and see how he works as an opener. And I'll also tell it to whoever it is at Delhi Capitals, and I'll Pant should open, and Pant should even make Pant himself say it, or Pant should be released. This is for the Indian cricket. So if it's not right to actually control into private franchises tactics, but it's sort of a like a blackmail. Like if Pant, you have more hold over Pant. I know Pant. What's more important for Pant is delivering for India. So force Pant, tell Pan to tell the DC think tank that if he opens, he'll play for Delhi Capitals, or he's leaving Delhi Capitals and his job done. He will open. That's how you make things work. The other thing is like draft Prithvi Shaw, and I don't think he's part of the squad that's selected. I think that's the only selection that's like there are a lot of other calls that can be debatable. You can argue something for against, and I can argue something for it. But with Prithvi Shaw, there is no argument for and against. There's only one argument there is, and that's for. Prithvi Shaw should be in the 11 and should be opening with whoever is at the other end. So draft Prithvi Shaw, and he is one of the world's best players of power play bowling. I mean, you could ask why he wasn't in the Australian World Cup. Have you not seen his issues with pacey short balls? Uh, Pacey deliveries and short balls. So that's a different thing. Australian World Cup it was a different thing, and this is a different World Cup. India also has more time to work with him, so he should be in. And in West Indies and USA he could be useful for Indian cricket. So that's it. That would be my top two. Prithvi Shaw and Rishabh Pant. This is what I'll start with. Number three would be Rahul Tripathi. I loved what I see of Rahul Tripathi, what I saw of Rahul Tripathi in the last IPL, and I always loved what I've seen of Rahul Tripathi. The selfless play, how he comes in and attacks the ballers right away, his understanding of how to work a T20, work T20 out, and I think the post power play game was interesting, was good for SRH. So let's have him there and see what he works. And this is a spot that will also be worked in closely with Deepak Huda. I think this is Deepak Huda's best position. It's either Deepak Huda starts and Rahul Tripathi works as a backup, or Rahul Tripathi starts and Deepak Huda works as a backup. I'll have no issues with both. I'm happy with both of them. And I think number four spot, I think this is where Surya Kumar Yadav owns the spot. Let him stay there, or yeah, let him stay there. And Sanju Samson, we have discussed this. Sanju Samson, Hardik Pandya captain, Sanju Samson vice captains. I think these two are amongst the best young minds. Young, or we may not. Hardik Pandya may not exactly qualify as a young mind, but in terms of captaincy experience, these two are India's best shots, and Hardik Pandya is the bigger player. So he captains, Sanju Samson vice captains. So this completes my top six. And here are the players that I'll be working for. Like what I said with KL Rahul, I'll not completely put him out of the picture. I'll have him go and do what you're capable of. If you do, you'll come back into our picture. Maybe a couple of players from this fall off. Maybe Tripathi is riding a purple patch, or maybe it's Rishabh Pant doesn't work out, and KL Rahul can come back. The same applies to Mayank Agarwal. Do not forget him. He has had one bad season, but before that he had two great seasons, and he's a player who could also come back into the setup. But again, he'll have to show that he can crack it. He can get back to his best. For him, I think one season is enough because he's done enough, and he has the right mindset, and he could also be in the picture. These are two of the players that I'll be closely working with. Deepak Huda, we have already discussed it, and I think that there is one thing that's Shreyas Iyer. I think he'll not be in my squad if I select a squad now, but in the last IPL he did show what he's capable of. The right intent, the right way of attacking, and it's not a coincidence. This is something we observed with a lot of young players once the new management took over. So if Shreyas Iyer could convert that, could actually deliver on that for the next year or even a couple of years, then Shreyas Iyer could come into the picture later in like 2023 or 2024. There is only one thing that's lacking in this top six. It's the presence of a left-hander in the middle order, and I'm amazed how big of a problem that this is becoming for Indian cricket. This World Cup didn't have a left-hander in the middle. The World Cup before didn't have left-hander in the middle, and I think that's Rishabh Pant is clearly not turning out to be a solution. So put him up, and what you'll do is work closely with Ishan Kishan and Abhishek Sharma. I think these are the two best options, Indian cricket has now to crack the middle order role with Jaiswal coming into play after the 2024 World Cup, trying to like not lose out on the leg spin. That's something you should be careful of. This happens to a lot of Indian young batters. Shouldn't lose out on Jaiswal. Shouldn't lose out on his leg spin bowling. But that's something I see it as a more of a post 2024 project. Right now, I think Ishan Kishan and Abhishek Sharma have had more exposure in IPL, more domestic cricket exposure as well. Like play him play those two in the India A setups and put them in the middle. Like tell them that if they are to come into the Indian team, this is what they need to do. And if they crack it, if they show signs of becoming a quality middle order player, I think the way Abhishek Sharma handled Rashid Khan, wow, I haven't seen a young player do that in Indian conditions for a long time, and that's something that could be of value to India. And he could also be the number seven as a left-hander who could also bowl left arm spin. So that all of this is a great package to have in WI and USA. For some reason, I keep saying it as WI because I write a lot of things, and I think it's not like West Indies; it's always WI. So yeah, I think you can understand. So this will be my plans for the 2024 World Cup. Okay, that's it. We'll in the next part we'll discuss what the makeup of the Indian bowling unit. Thank you. Bye.